are you doing?
All right, well, we're on quarantine right now. My sister came down with COVID
Oh, no.
Oh,
and she had both of her shots a while back, but she has a lot of health issues. And but she's in the hospital up in Duluth. And so we got our test yesterday. Don't have the results yet, but we're feeling fine. So
You both have had your shots, right?
yeah, we had Pfizer, both of them, back in early April. We had our second one.
Okay, good.
And your sister had her shots too?
Yes, he had Pfizer also.
When did she have her shot, George? How long ago?
Oh, it's about the same time we had ours, so it's been over a month since she had
Mary,
it.
is this Mary?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But she's doing. I talked to her last evening, and she's doing a bit better. Still on medication. I don't know what they're treating her with, but she's been on IV and stuff. So, but she has a lot of health issues.
Well, we need to add her to our prayers. Your sister lives in Sugarloaf?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it turned out she, the night before she went in the hospital, well, first thing, she slipped out of bed and fell and got on the floor, couldn't get up. And a friend got there and couldn't get in the house, and they called the 911, and the police and fire came, or EMTs, and they had to break the door down to get in the house and all of that. So anyway, that's what kind of started it all. Anyway.
My neighbor, he's 88. He has a odd garage. His garage it's 11 steps from the floor of his garage to the first floor of his house. And he has a backpack blower and decided to blow the steps and lost his footing and fell head first down those steps. And he's doing relatively well now, but he was, I don't understand why he'd have a backpack blower at the top of those stairs, but you know, he did. So. Well, while we're talking about health and stuff, I talked with Glenn and Bell. They're doing as Glenn says, as well as can be expected. So they're still out there. So hope to see them next month. So let's get started. It looks like we've got some guests. Let's see. Jim, where are you? Oh, there you are. And this is it. Oh, I'm not going to pronounce her name right.
Eliza, that's my daughter,
Eliza.
Eliza. She's joining us from Montreal.
Oh, well, we can't see her, but we see her name. So, welcome, Eliza. Good to have you on.
Hi.
And, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just said thank you.
Are you planning on joining? Because we can send you a calendar of when our meetings are, and you can. It's not that far.
My dad usually sends me the whenever there's an event going on. Thank you.
Oh, we'd love to have you come visit sometime. Do we have any other guests? Any members from another club? Don't see any. Okay. Well, let's get started. Let me check my notes. I've been moving stuff around here, so I've got everything out of order. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I so move.
Second,
Renee, second.
all in favor?
Hey,
Aye.
All opposed? No one ever opposes. You know, if you oppose, we're not going to read them. So it's we won't filibuster this. So okay. Let's see, old business. I've got a few things here. At the last meeting, I was talking. Glenn, did you hear from Joshua with the museum in Kennesaw?
Yeah, Dan, I did, but I couldn't get back to him. I've had a computer problem for about the last week. And before I could get an answer back to him, I heard from him probably less than a couple of weeks ago. Before I could get a message back to him to find out what he was really looking for, Apple decides to put a security update on my computer, and I can't get back to my browser and get to my Comcast web page. I uploaded Big Sur, which is on this desktop that we've got now. I had I think it was Mojave,
Yeah, you were too.
and I was about 2 operating systems in the past. So I loaded Big Sur, which is the latest. Now I'm having to get familiar with Big Sur. So, but I had written him a message, and when I started it yesterday, and every time that I would think it was being saved automatically, it would go away. So I was left with having to, recompose the message. But I want to try to get to that today and get it off to him so I can find out what it is exactly he's looking for.
All right. Yeah, I was just checking to see if, I mean, he seemed to be pretty anxious to get a program. So,
Well, the problem is for me is that if he's looking for something routine, it's complicated by the fact that I live in Chattanooga, and that's about a 2-hour drive down there and a 2-hour drive back. So if he's looking for something routine, I'm not looking for a second job. I wouldn't mind making some presentations down there. But based on his email message, or his question to me was, he thinks I make presentations to museums. I don't do that. I'm not on the lecture circuit. I do give, in my short portfolio of 2 programs, which I presented to chapter 24 and 42, at least one of them to chapter 24. I've got one more that I'll recommend to Mary. But, I'm not willing to drive down there on a routine basis to do what he's asking for, what I think he's asking for. So I'm going to ask for more information.
yeah. I mean, I didn't read it that he wanted a permanent presentation, but you've talked to him probably more than me.
I haven't even really connected with him yet. I mean, I've got his phone number, but the problem is that me living that distance away, I'm not going to be able to go down there every time he wants me, because we have intervening other interests like regionals and nationals and a number of other things.
Well, I just play it by ear. If you can help him
When
find it.
I get more information, I'll report back to you.
Okay, thanks. Charles sent off a check to National to help with the National Convention for $200. I haven't heard from Charles as to whether we got an acknowledgement on that, but I'll pass that on as soon as I hear from Charles. And that's all the old business I have. Does anyone have any old business?
I tried to contact the school again and got the same answer, which is, well, we'll let you know.
Do you think we ought to get with Dick Bear and see if we can use this place temporarily?
I was trying to push her into asking specifically about the summer, because the end of the school year is not that far away.
Yeah.
And, they're kind of oh, we're not going to open it this week or this month. Okay, that's fine. But how about over the summer? And I still haven't gotten an answer on that.
All right. Well, you know, regular school is in though, isn't it?
It
Don't
ends
they have
in May.
I hear in Forsyth they have regular school.
Gwinnett is still on half and half, digital and half live. So they're still not all live yet. So that's the problem. Yeah. And
Yeah.
of course, you know, Gwinnett's going through a real upheaval right now. Their superintendent is leaving in about a month. And so there are a lot of things their board's dealing with right now. So
Yeah, I saw on the news where I think they canceled the superintendent's contract or something then. Anyway, it'd be nice to get back because I've got some clocks I need help on. So it's purely selfish. And Randy, by the way, I sent you an email. I've got your banner. You know, if you need it, you know, I can drop it by your house.
Well, there is a vacant space over top of my bed that is missing it, but I'll wait for a bit.
Yeah. Well, just let me know and I'll run it over there. So, all right. No other new business?
I've got some.
Okay.
As you know, we've been trying to move forward with MidSouth, and I wanted to let you all know, as of Friday, I have made reservations at Wally's for our annual meeting that we missed last year, but now we get to have it. So we're meeting at Wally's on the 22nd of May. And they're at the same Wally's that we always meet at, in the one right off of I-75.
Yeah, exit one.
On Ringgold Road, right. And their hours have changed. So the meeting will start at 11 because that's when they open. So currently that's the plan. I haven't gotten, everything pulled together to send it in an email yet. But since we're all in chatting mode right now, I thought I would share that. So, we're getting going. The registration form will be in print in the Mart, the next issue, which would come out like the beginning of June. And we're just about finished with the contracts with the hotel. Dennis has been very cautious with getting them signed and committing us to more than we can handle. So we've gotten everything pretty much down to where as soon as we actually have a physical signature on a contract with the Marriott, people will be able to make their reservations. And I didn't want the registration form to come out before somebody could call the hotel and make a reservation. So as soon as we have that ready, I will have Kevin up at National put the printable version on the website. So that'll be sooner than the Mart comes out, but that's all in process for pre-registration be coming up in the next few weeks.
Great. Let's keep our fingers crossed that everything goes smoothly and, we can get back to normal.
Yes. Well, it'll be great because the first regional that's being able to be held is going to be the Ohio Regional. And Glenn, I know that you said that you and Sherry were going up for it. It'll be really great to hear how that goes because they're the first one. They're going to be the guinea pig regional.
Well, I'll be glad to report back, what we see up there as soon as we know or have another Zoom meeting here. But
Absolutely. Plus the fact also take notes for us, like how they did some of the distancing and any of the things like that we might need to observe because every state's different. So I'm not going to assume that we'll have to abide by what Ohio states, but it might be good to have some of those practices that, you might observe that go, oh, this is a great idea. So bring that information back.
The
Sherry's
Coltons will be
Sherry's
going
taking
too.
notes right now as she normally does, so I'm sure she'll take copious notes when we go up to the SOR. I mean, we'll take some photographs and stuff up there to, give an idea of what and how they did what they're doing. That's usually a very, very well attended show. It's probably the best east of the Mississippi, with the Lone Star being the one that we go to west of the Mississippi out in Mesquite or Dallas. But those two shows are probably two of the bigger attendance on most of the other shows. But the Southern Ohio it runs for, it's listed for like 3 days, but it normally goes for more than that, because we're going to arrive there on Tuesday in advance to be there by Wednesday morning, because what I call the bootleg tailgate occurs on Wednesday. The scheduled tailgate occurs on Thursday. The one is called legitimate. What I call the bootleg is they just set up at random out there in the parking lot. And there's a lot of business goes on out there the day before the sanctioned tailgate goes on. And then, of course, the next day you've got the main event. Load in will be Thursday afternoon for the mart, and then the next day and half a day Saturday, like normal for us, it goes inside instead of outside. And it'll be interesting to do it this year, because normally when they hold that show in early April, it's usually a toss up as to whether it's going to be balmy or you're going to freeze your butt off.
Yeah.
Now, I've gone up there with chiller killers. I mean, the wind, there's no hills to break the wind up there. So, I mean, if a 45-degree day could turn into a minus 20-degree day with the wind blowing up there.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. It'll probably be a pleasure to go up there in early June, because I won't have to go out with my chiller killers on.
Well, and let me ask, is this will this be the first convention that they allow the public in for the mart?
Well, to my knowledge, it will be this year, because I don't know what, Southern Ohio is contingent upon Ohio state law. In other words, Governor Mike DeWine's edicts. But thus far, I think they've, we'll be allowed to gather up there. And probably all of us who were in the vulnerable age range have already had both doses. I know Sherry and I both have. But, I still don't feel really confident about not wearing a mask and still trying to distance and not shaking hands and all that stuff. It'll take a while to get over that, but I felt confident enough that we could go up there and do that. We both got cabin fever just like everybody else. But we felt confident enough to go up there, and we'd like to support them. But I mean, that's usually a great show.
But
Right.
Donna, that's a good idea on your part to kind of have eyes looking at what they're doing with protocols up there for COVID and stuff. That's a good idea.
Well, I know that you and Jim and Renee had mentioned that y'all were going, and I thought, well, this being the first regional that anybody can attend all year long, it's just going to be our first taste of it.
Well, at the same time, Donna, we're going to go to the Kentucky Thoroughbred up in Lexington in late June.
Yes.
That normally occurs in January. We went to that one last year, and the one in Mesquite before all hell broke loose with COVID-19. So those were the only two shows that we got to go to.
Yeah.
But we did get those in. And I remember being at Mesquite in early March and shaking John Acker's hand. It was instinctive to reach out, and it was instinctive for me. It was instinctive for him. He said, maybe we should have bumped elbows. But that's before we knew, that's before, like I said, all hell broke loose.
Exactly.
And life, we knew it ended, so.
And John Acker's really a great guy. He went over there. My dad overwound his grandfather clock or something, and the weight fell off. And, that's a big mess. But John Acker went over there, and Dad said he had that clock all over the floor, all torn apart. Mother put it together. So it was kind of special to him. But anyway, he would not charge Dad anything for it. You know,
Aw.
fixed it, didn't charge him. So
Don.
we sent a donation into the chapter, to the Lone Star chapter,
124.
yeah.
Donna,
Yes.
something that Southern Ohio is doing this year that's new. It's called the People's Choice Award. And they say, bring your horological item to the display room. It can be a clock, watch, tool, advertisement, or something else, but it must be horologically related. And vote on Friday for your choice of the prettiest, ugliest, flashiest, oldest, newest, or something in between. Let's see how many other members like the item too. They'll award the prizes at their morning banquet on Saturday. That's a cute little idea. And also,
It is a cute little idea.
Southern Ohio has never opened their show up to the public per se. They will let escorted visitors come in. But this is the first show, to my knowledge, since COVID that the members can attend.
Okay. Well,
I have another announcement, if you don't mind, Jim Colson.
go ahead.
Okay, the election for the NAWCC, both the elected and the appointed new board members is finished. And as you know, Sherry Kitts was elected to the board. And Kathy Gorton from North Carolina and Renee Colson were appointed to the board.
Yay!
All right.
You're stealing my thunder, Jim, but
In addition to that, Chris Miller from Missouri has been appointed to the NEC, the Nomination and Elections Committee.
Oh, good.
So that's good information for us.
well, and I'll send my public congratulations to Renee. I sent her an email congratulations. So I'm happy that we've got 2 members on the board now.
Yeah. Or there's a triumvirate of women. I'm not sure how that's going to work out.
That's right. I guess we showed them.
Yeah,
Well, that means it's going to be awesome.
that sure does.
Well, initially it was Thelma and Louise. We've got to figure out who the third one's going to be.
That's right. Well, I'm happy. I'm happy for Renee and Sherry too. We expect a lot from both of you, of course.
Thank you
And
for their support too. Thank you.
Likewise.
no, I've got planned that we'll have our first face-to-face in June 13th, which we moved so that we can accommodate those members going to the Ohio convention. So
Now I find that out after I upended my practice's call schedule. Ah,
well, if everything goes well, we should have our first face-to-face, and I'll be sending via Bob's newsletter some instructions on what we'll do. I think we should still wear the mask, even though I'm sort of the ilk that if you get the vaccine, then you don't need to wear the mask. But I think George's sister sort of proved that wrong. So we'll have to. I think we'll need to wear the mask and some other things. But does anyone object to meeting face-to-face on June 13th?
No, as a matter of fact, we're looking forward to it, Dan.
Good.
Well, I don't object at all, but unfortunately on the 13th, I can't come to Atlanta. So I'll have to wait until August to get to hug y'all, but or bump elbows or whatever we're doing at the time. It happens to be my 40th wedding anniversary.
We'll take you at Wally's
All right.
instead.
Congratulations.
Unfortunately, I can't go to Wally's either, but that's the date that everybody wanted to try and do. And my husband has to have nasal surgery, which the doctor put on the 21st. And I'm not going to leave him for an entire full day the day after he's had surgery. So I'm not going to be at Wally's. Dennis said, don't worry, I'll run the meeting. We still want to do it ASAP. So I'm not going to get to see y'all till August, but that's okay. It is what it is.
Well, we'll miss you.
I know. I miss you guys too, but we gotta do what we gotta do.
That's right.
But I am gonna beg every one of you who's been a chairperson to chair something for us so that our Mid-South can go real smooth. So if you're willing to chair something that you've done in the past that we can just make it go nice and smooth, email me, call me, whatever. And because I want to get that list of people built up so that when we have our Wally's meeting, everybody kind of already knows what we're doing. Okay. So I'm digging.
My picture went out.
Yes, it did.
Several pictures.
There we go. All right. Well, congratulations on 40 years. And,
thank you.
I've got the treasurer's report here. I see Charles isn't on, so I'll read it. We had an opening balance of $16,584. We had dues collected of $140 and expenses, the $200 contribution to national of $200. So we end with $16,520. And we have 10 members who still have not paid their dues. And hopefully we can collect it next month when we meet in person and try and get them to pay up. I hate, that's one of the reasons why I want to start meeting face to face, is that, out of sight, out of mind. The sooner we can get back where we can shame these people to pay face to face, then we'll proceed. So,
can I ask a question or make a request?
Yes.
I still was thinking it was the first Sunday of June. I know that there was discussion last month, but since the date has changed, would Bob be willing to send out an earlier notice that, that the date has changed? I literally turned the office's call schedule upside down to be available on the first Sunday. Thankfully, I am also still available on the second Sunday.
Yeah, this is just a one-time thing. We did it so that members could go to the Ohio convention.
I remember the discussion, but I did not remember the decision.
I understand how memory goes. So we'll get.
I think it was in the minutes too.
Like I said.
Dan, I think one thing we need to do too. I did my first auction Friday. It was outside. It was a beautiful 350 people, but they were it was really a big occasion, but most of them had not been out. Nobody wore a mask. Everybody was hugging and shaking hands, and it really was kind of frightening, but it was good. It went well. But I think we need to, since this is inside, I think in the notice, we also need to say, we are asking that you wear a mask. I think being inside, especially what George said, that we need to say, please practice social distancing and wear a mask. That's my personal opinion.
Well, I agree, and I'm gonna write up a blurb about some of the rules that we're gonna sort of insist upon for Bob to put in the newsletter.
And maybe we should bring a couple of bottles of hand sanitizer to put here or there.
A couple of bottles of alcohol, they can drink or rub, whatever they want to.
Maybe both.
Does that mean that we're not going to have the drinks and snacks?
That's a good question, Randy. Good question.
I don't know, how do y'all feel about that?
I don't think it hurts to have the drinks and fact, I don't think you get, you know,
Just as long as you have Cokes and maybe donuts, and that's it. Yeah.
yeah.
What about cake or anything, just that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we primarily use paper products anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was
What
more
about-
that you have to take your mask off to
That's
consume
right,
them.
Randy, that's right, yeah. And that's okay.
What about what about coffee?
What's coffee?
Coffee?
That's northern for coffee.
No, it's New Jersey for coffee.
It's, I don't think there should be an issue with coffee. I mean, I see it the same as Cokes and,
Why don't we just get bottled water that first meeting, have bottled water there, bottled water and, maybe donuts. What do y'all think?
Well, the problem is if we have food and drinks, then you got to take your mask off while you're
Yeah.
drinking or eating. That's the risk.
Well, I make a motion, and if y'all can vote me down, I make a motion, we have the meeting, ask to wear a mask and have no refreshments this first time.
except for bottled water.
Except for, and if they want that, they can get a bottle of water, yeah. That's my motion.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
I
guess.
All opposed?
Aye.
Once again, you can oppose. Right. Okay, well, then we'll do that. I don't have a problem with that. I think I don't think we're gonna have, a huge complement of folks there anyway. I think it'll be a smaller group and, but we gotta start somewhere, so. Okay, so we'll have, the only refreshments will be bottled water. Who's gonna bring it? Well,
What?
People bring their own.
Yeah. I just say bring your own beverage.
well, I'll pick up a couple cases of water though. I won't, well, we can put that out on the table.
You know, we can always say too, like if we, like the next meeting, if we still a little bit like some of you are, we can always say, if when you eat or drink, take your stuff back to where you're sitting and social distance. If you're going to take your mask off to do your eating, don't stand around next to everybody else and drink and eat while you're.
Or stuff the whole donut in your mouth and put your mask back on.
I love it.
I make a
Do
motion
that.
to stuff the whole donut in our mouth. Somebody want a second to that?
We can get those little donut holes.
Yeah.
No, I want the real thing. I don't want a hole. I want the real thing.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll pick up a couple cases of water and we'll just go from there. We'll see how it goes. And like I say, hopefully maybe August will be just, everything will be normal.
Well, cross your fingers.
I got them crossed.
Well, the governor, as you know, has raised restrictions on everything. Restaurants, no mask. I mean, he's opened everything. Sports and the teams. I know our high school teams are already starting to practice. They're still practicing some social, but he's opened everything.
Yeah, and this is one time, with the exception of Brooks, this is one time I feel bad for politicians. Trying to make a decision that pleases everybody and keeps everyone healthy. So it hasn't been easy, I'm sure.
We'll find out in 3 or 4 weeks whether it was a good decision or not.
You're right. Yeah.
You're right.
So, and that may influence our June meeting. If we get all of a sudden get a spike, I think we may need to rethink June, but we've got time for that. So, George, you got a groaner?
Yeah, and I've got something else that came up last week, I guess it was. I had a call from Paul Melvin at the mansion. They were going to put our videos on the website, governor's website. And it turns out, I guess it was Stacy Peach at the governor's office, and they found a mistake in our videos that we had misspelled. We had misspelled in the opening scenes, the governor's mansion. We misspelled governors, and all 8 videos.
Oh, no.
After all of this time, and somebody caught it. So I've talked to Chris Keegan, and he's going to correct all the copies of the videos. And I told him I'd pick up some more flash drives and we can record some new ones. But in the meantime, Chris said that they're now, everything they produce, I guess, has to potentially have closed captioning on their products like videos. So we called the mansion again, and they said, yes, they would like that have to be done also. So they contacted the woman at Georgia Tech. She's Cheryl Ballinger, with the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services Manager, captioning and described media services at Georgia Tech. And she and Chris and the governor's mansion are going to work it all out to be able to get closed captioning on the videos. So right now, until that's all done, we won't really have the revised videos. So, but anyway, it's crazy. All the people have looked at those videos and never caught that mistake. And there it is. Oh
I guess that's somewhat of an indictment of our education system.
Oh, man.
Well,
Anyway.
at least it was caught and will be corrected, so.
Yeah, thank God for that. And it's good that they are gonna put them on the governor's mansion website. And I did talk to Paul about the clocks, and he said, confirm once again, they're not running the clocks. And I said, well, at least nobody's destroying them. So anyway, but he told me when we get the new videos that I could come down to the mansion and bring the new flash drive. I'm sure it'll be handled differently by then, but anyway.
So they're not even running the tall clock?
I don't think so.
None of the clocks are being run, no. And even in the Capitol, it's really sad. They run those 2 halftime. It's unreal.
Well, I've got room in my living room for that toilet number 22.
Amen.
All right, we ought to go take them and dole them out to people who would appreciate them.
Well, I'd appreciate the 22. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
at least they're there for people to see. But I guess there's no visitors now anyway, is there?
No, the Capitol's pretty well closed, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the dog's ears are very sensitive. So that's the reason they're not running them.
yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, right. Anyway.
All right, we go to the Groner.
Sure.
Okay, this is another good one or a bad one, depending how you look at it. So this is a conversation between Hal and Cal. And Hal says, I just invented a talking wristwatch that tells time and jokes. And Cal says, does it really work? And Hal says, it's a laugh a minute.
Oh, gosh.
It's a laugh minute.
Yeah, that was, I'll vote for, that was bad. Have you got?
What do you expect? What do you expect?
Have you got a rebound for that one?
No, that's all you get for today.
Okay. If we're gonna talk bad about it, that's all we get, right?
Yeah.
Okay, anything else before the program? Mary, I would like to be able to introduce this, but I can't pronounce this word.
Well, it depends on who you're listening to, because let me assure you, I have listened to a lot of videos. So it's either the Antikythera or the Antikythera. So it depends on which syllable you want to emphasize. I will have to tell everybody that George gets credit for sending me the idea. George somehow discovered a hour-long video about this Antikythera or Antikythera mechanism and forwarded it to me. It is a wonderful video, and it's done by a young lady who's very dynamic and very cute in her presentation, but very long. So I have looked around and come up with a couple that I'm going to show you. So I'm going to just do a little in background, and you'll hear this in the videos. The Antikythera mechanism was a device that was found in a Greek shipwreck around the turn of the previous century, around 1900. And of course, it dates from about the turn of the millennia, maybe 100 BC is when they've dated out this mechanism approximately, depends on who you talk to. So it's been underwater the whole time, and we know what water does to metal. So the shipwreck was investigated by a bunch of archaeologists over the years, and they had this hunk of metal which got nobody's attention and finally did. And there's been quite a debate about over the decade what it was. Still not entirely sure what it was supposed to be doing. And best I have determined from what I've looked at, it is a forecasting and education device. It's not a clock, but it talks about the position of the planets, the known planets of 2,000 years ago, and the phase of the moon. And incidentally, it also can tell you when the Olympic Games are going to be scheduled. So rather interesting. There are a few literally fragments. They are housed in the Athens Museum of Science, and they've been studied intermittently by different groups of folks. Fairly recently, they've been investigated, that have been imaged with some unique imaging software, basically analogous to CT scan, so you can see what medicine we call them cuts. You can see what is at any particular layer in a chunk of metal, and it's covered with lots of inscriptions, of course, in Greek, and so those have been deciphered. So I am going to share screen with sound and see how far I get. I've got a couple of videos, so we're going to go back and forth. Okay, this is the first one. And I'm going to run most of the way through it, but not all the way, because then it gets into some watchmaking. So here we go on our first video.
More than 21 centuries ago, a mechanism of fabulous ingenuity was created in Greece, a machine capable of indicating exactly how the sky would look for decades to come, the position of the sun and moon, lunar phases, and even eclipses. But this incredible invention would be drowned in the sea and its secret forgotten for 2,000 years. The Roman ships traveling from Asia Minor to Italy passed between the Peloponnesus and Crete. The small island of Antikythera sits right in the middle of this maritime corridor. Its craggy, rugged coast presented a real threat to passing ships, which could be dashed against the unforgiving rocks in a storm. This is precisely what happened around 70 BCE to the ship filled with treasures we now call the Antikythera wreck. In 1900, fishermen diving for sponges spied a bronze hand on the seafloor. They told the Greek authorities, who, the next winter, searched the Antikythera coast around the shipwreck. Half concealed in the seabed, they found more than 200 amphorae, some of them intact. Nearby were the usual objects of a ship's crew, such as oil lamps. There were also finely worked vases. The more they searched, the more exceptional objects came to light. In fact, this Roman boat, perhaps on its way from Rhodes or the coast of Asia Minor in what is today Turkey, had been carrying some of the most prized works of art of its day. The bronze hand proved to belong to a 5th century BCE Greek sculpture of a philosopher, whose head and some other limbs were later found. Another major discovery was a bronze Ephebi, a Hellenistic masterpiece sculpted around 340 BCE. Half submerged in the seabed, more statues were preserved from corrosion by the sand and sediment. They lift the veil slightly on the genius which created them from stone. Amongst these sublime objects, the divers found an intriguing bronze item, about 20 centimeters high, which began to disintegrate as soon as it was removed from the water. From the first, scientists realized that this was a mechanism for astronomical data. Scrupulously preserved at the National Archaeological Museum of Athens with the other objects from the wreck, the mechanism aroused the curiosity of many researchers. It was only in the 21st century that modern tools for scanning could penetrate the corrosion to reveal in 3 dimensions the interior of the machine. This showed a set of interlocking gears of astounding ingenuity. High-resolution photographs using different exposures brought to light inscriptions on the sides of the machine which appeared to be part of an instruction manual. Scientists compared the numbers inscribed in the text to the number of teeth in the gears and their arrangement, and applied these to the known astronomical cycles of antiquity. Thus, a reliable reconstitution has been made.
All the clues point to the same date, including the metallurgical analysis and especially the text analysis. The form of the letters is typical of the period, and the vocabulary used is found on all the other texts of the same period. Given the extensive information we have, a reliable reconstitution can be made.
Housed in a rectangular frame, the machine shows data on both sides. In front is the larger dial, showing the 365 days of the year according to the Egyptian solar calendar. Inside, a second circle shows the 12 signs of the zodiac. By turning a handle, one could position the 2 hands to indicate, for each day of the year, the exact position of the sun and moon, and a small sphere indicating the phase of the moon. In order to guarantee its exactitude, whatever the day or year chosen, a dial on the back of the mechanism shows the metonic cycle, which reflects lunar and solar cycles over a period of 19 years, corresponding to 235 lunar months. Above this, another spiral dial indicates eclipses of the sun and moon. The handle was used to advance the pointer to determine when the next eclipse would occur in the Saros cycle. As these operations were connected by the interlocking gears, the actual date of the eclipse showed on the other dial. How did the Greeks manage to devise a mechanism to reflect such complex and irregular data as the lunar cycles? The question also intrigues today's specialists in fine watchmaking. Matthias Butte, Director of Research and Development at Hublot, decided to reproduce these ancient forgotten calculations and integrate them into a modern watch.
Je voulais pas être comme un pilleur de tombes qui vient voler une idée.
I didn't want to be like a tomb robber who comes to steal an idea which has existed for a long time, but rather like someone who approaches our forefathers with deep respect, whose goal is to recreate the antique object in a contemporary form. The original is about 20 centimeters high, and we have been able to create a 30mm movement which can easily be worn on a wrist. This Antikythera mechanism includes ingenious features which are not found in modern watchmaking.
Several writers in antiquity, including Cicero, mention the existence of similar machines, but the Antikythera mechanism is the only one which has been recovered. It was recently discovered that it also indicates which cities would host future Olympic Games held every 4 years. It is also believed to trace the path of certain planets, including Venus. Who invented this machine? For whom and for what purpose? We still have no answers to these questions, but research continues, constantly uncovering further mechanical and mathematical subtleties, adjusting our perception of the ancient world and its technology.
Okay, that was the kind of, you might say, introductory video. And as we were talking, when we first got into our session today, Jim is familiar with this mechanism. Jim, could you unmute and give us a little background to supplement that video?
Actually, it's kind of funny. I was on a committee just a few weeks ago where we were interviewing some more physics and astronomy faculty for GSU Perimeter College, and one of the applicants actually brought up the Antikythera mechanism. And I had heard about it years and years ago, but it had kind of slipped my mind. And it was interesting to be reminded of it, because I really wanted to look into it and find out some more details. And then, Mary, I'm so happy about this presentation. I don't have anything to add to it other than just, I don't have any new information to add to it, but I just find it absolutely amazing that there's nothing else even like it from that period. I can't imagine where it came from, and then what happened to it, the technology afterwards.
This would be Kathy and I have both.
As the video mentioned, it is discussed by some of the learned thinkers of that era. And as you saw, particularly the image of the 3 pieces mounted in the museum, and the young lady looking at it from the other side. How the heck they figure out the rest of it, and it was in a box. And there have been different working models proposed. So what I'd like to do next, I usually have my screen. Yes, Warren.
Yeah, Kathy and I have actually been to the exhibit in Athens a couple of times. Last time was 2.5 years ago. And to try and imagine this technology 2,100 years ago would be the equivalent of somebody making a marine chronometer in 1300s. The technology did not exist. The ability to make small parts did not exist. The trigonometry existed, but nobody was using gears for anything at the time, much less a complex system. And this is in fact the first known mechanical computer, truly a computer. A very, very sophisticated machine.
And all of the videos, I should have mentioned that word computer, all of the introductory comments of videos I looked at referred to it as the world's first analog computer. They also made references comparing it to John Harrison's timepiece that made calculation of longitude possible. So
it's amazing.
So, well, the next one I'm going to show you is a working model that was developed by a Dr. Michael Wright. And I will have to excuse the video quality. I think it has to do with the fact that the video was done in 2008, so it doesn't have the crisp resolution that we're used to. So let me line that up here. That's not the one I wanted. Could you all hear that?
No.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Oh. I am so sorry. I am used to setting these up in advance and not having to do it on the fly, so to speak. Okay, there that one is. Bear with me a second, and I'm going to share screen with sound. All right. Again, this is a reconstruction, according to Dr. Michael Wright, of what he thinks the whole thing, if we had the entire, all the archaeological pieces, this is what it would look like. So let's see. Please speak up if you are unable to hear it, which will mean I haven't gotten this set up correctly.
This is a reconstruction of a 2,000-year-old computer. The original battered pieces were found in a shipwreck more than a century ago, and Michael Wright, a museum curator from London, spent decades studying them in order to work out what the device was for. He built this model in his home workshop with techniques similar to those that the Greeks might have used.
This is my model of the Antikythera mechanism. The mechanism is a box full of gear wheels driving indications on dials, one at the front and one at the back, which we'll look at in a moment. And it's all driven by working from the hand knob here. On the front dial, we've got two scales. The inner ring is the zodiac divided into degrees. The outer ring is an annual calendar scale, 365 days.
The device is a machine for predicting the motions of the heavens. When you turn the handle on the side, pointers move around the front dial, showing the movements of the sun, moon, and the 5 planets that the Greeks knew. The fastest pointer here is for the moon, going around the sky once a month, while the white and black ball shows its changing phase. Inside, a sophisticated setup of wheels riding around on other wheels models the varying motions of the planets, according to the Greeks' astronomical theories. As the side handle turns, the planet pointers sometimes move forwards and sometimes backwards. Meanwhile, the sun and moon pointers vary in speed, just as the actual sun and moon do when seen from Earth.
Now we'll look at the back. We've got two sets of two displays together here. The upper one is basically a calendar. The spiral scale is divided into months, each of which is named. And this is a cycle of months, 235 months, which fit into 19 years. These are months measured by the moon.
An extendable pointer with a little needle on the end tracks the spiral groove, just like the stylus on a record player. When it gets to the end, you can lift the pointer up to reset it. One of the little dials just inside the spiral shows the dates of the ancient Greek games, including the Olympics, on a 4-year cycle, while the other tracks a much longer 76-year cycle.
The lower display is giving the times at which there may be eclipses. Again, it's graduated into months, and the markings are just in those months in which we expect there to be an eclipse either of the moon or of the sun or of both. The thing about eclipses is that they happen according to a pattern which repeats after 223 months. So here we have a 4-turn spiral scale with 223-month divisions.
This dial is one of the most exciting parts of the mechanism. It was used to predict eclipses of the sun and moon according to a repeating 18-year cycle. The Greeks probably got the data from ancient Babylonian astronomer priests who had been observing eclipses for centuries. Inside the mechanism, you can see the gear trains that drive the pointers on the back dial. This shot also reveals that this model was made of recycled metal plates, just like the original would have been. This is the first model of the Antikythera mechanism to incorporate all of its known features. Thanks to Michael Wright, it's working again for the first time in 2,000 years.
Okay, now I have to figure out how to get out of this, folks. So sorry, I'm trying to get out of it. I don't know how. Stop share, that's how I do it. Okay. Any thoughts on that video?
I thought it was fabulous. I hadn't seen that before. It's fabulous.
George, can you tell us how you came upon that original hour-long presentation?
Well, first of all, I haven't rechecked, but as I remember some years back, there was an article in our bulletin about the Antikythera mechanism. But the recent thing was that our neighbor across the street is a retired statistician from CDC, and he knows I'm interested in clocks. And he and I were talking one day, and he said, I saw this program about the mechanism, and he said, I thought you'd be interested in it. So he sent it to me, and then that lecture, that part of it was about an hour, like Mary said, was over an hour, I think. And maybe we could put that reference so people could in our minutes, so that people could look up and listen to the whole program that was given by that lecturer in England. So anyway, I thought of, maybe it would be an interesting program for our meeting, and referred it on to Mary. So that's how we ended up today.
And I certainly appreciate it. I am soliciting any and all recommendations and suggestions for programs because.
Well, that was pretty interesting. I'm surprised Bernie didn't try and build one of these.
Yeah.
He's pretty good at that kind of stuff.
If you're inclined, I can show you a skeletal working model video. It's a very short video, but it does harken back to Bernie's timepiece because it's a more skeletalized. Let me.
Mary or George, if either of you could send out a link to that original longer video, I know I would absolutely love to see it. Maybe some of the other members would like to see it also.
Yeah.
I'll be glad to send that out to Bob if he'd be kind enough to send the mass email out to everybody. I'll get that over to him today.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
If you look at the video showing it in 3D, it looks like a 3D chessboard. If you've ever worked on a 3-plate movement, imagine a 4-plate movement where everything has to work. And then imagine the engineering to design that 2,100 years ago. It's pretty amazing. This is in a society that had lots of donkey carts.
And I had seen this before, not this presentation, but I read about this mechanism, and I'm surprised that no one ever found another one. That's
the reason is that if they were just a few that were made, because the technology was very difficult, so they were one-ofs. The technology to cut gears into metal hadn't been invented yet and wouldn't be reinvented for another 1,500 years. And there was no mass production whatsoever. So that's the reason you didn't see a lot of them. Somebody spent years to make it.
Yeah.
And he was a true artist that did it. So, and then the technology was lost literally in a shipwreck.
It's amazing.
Well,
makes you think of Eric von Daniken's Chariots of the Gods.
He talked a whole lot about how a lot of things happened. And this one falls into the von Daniken realm.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, once again, Mary, you've pulled off a great presentation.
Well, I thank you for that, but 90% of the credit goes to George for sharing it with us, and I'll send the link over to Bob that gives the entire hour-long presentation. Joe Marchand, who narrated one of those videos, is the science writer, and she gave a hour-long lecture at was one of the great English colleges. I've already forgotten the name, but you'll see it on the video.
Wow, it was good. I enjoyed it.
And thank you, Warren and Kathy, for filling in some of those additional details.
It's well worth the trip to Athens just to see that. In addition, it's just well worth the trip to go to Athens.
Well, especially if George is playing.
Exactly.
That was a stretch.
Well, personally, I thought maybe Warren could charter a flight for the entire chapter. That might get those dues memberships paid if Warren got us a charter flight to Greece, or excuse me.
Right.
Dan, I thought you had the best groaner of the day. Sorry, George.
Well, it's by sheer luck. George is the king of that. So.
Yeah.
Well, do we have any other business?
I have a question.
Okay.
When we have our first on-site meeting in June, are we going to continue to have a Zoom meeting in the interim months, or are we just going to go with the every other month in place?
I mean, I don't have a problem having the Zoom meetings. I kind of like these, but I'll leave it up to the membership. If get awful lonely if it's just me and you on there, George.
No.
You also have to consider the programs.
That's right. Yeah, Mary would have Mary and Bob are the two workers in this group, so they.
Well,
they
what I would,
have to.
if the group wants to do intervening Zoom meetings on the odd months, I will not be getting any really in-depth programs. I'll show something a little more quick and simple.
Well, we have the regional meetings, which I think is June 19th for us, isn't it, Mary?
I can't speak to that, and unfortunately, I see Donna's occupied on a phone call. I'm not sure that's going to happen because her chapter, her small Birmingham chapter, is not going to participate. So I'm a little concerned that the regional meetings are going to fall apart.
Well, yeah, you're probably right. I went in to the one just recently. I forgot what chapter it was that chaired it. And it was the exact same presentation that you had for our meeting. So I sat through it twice. And but it was only maybe 10 people at best on there. So I'm not sure that it's a big crowd pleaser. So we'll have to see, I guess.
I think as good as the Zoom technology is, I think a lot of us are getting zoomed out and just say, I
That's
really
a good
want in
point.
person.
Yeah, it's a good point. And, maybe after we see each other in person again, we won't want to see each other on Zoom. That may be the killer.
I really think once Randy, and I think once that we get back at school and get that started, I think once that gets started with our live meetings and that, I think the people will be tickled to death because what y'all had started, you had a huge group getting there, and I think the people will be tickled to death getting back hands-on in your group. Yeah. I think that's
I've really missed the Tuesday groups, and so does my wife, Mary, because that was her time for me to be gone. So, all right. We can play that by ear for a while then and see what happens. Okay. Anything new? Anything else?
Let me ask one
Do
question.
you want to have an auction? Do y'all want to try to sell any clocks that meeting? You want to, when he sends out the notice, tell him to bring something to sell or do an auction? You want to still continue that?
Well, yeah, I think we can put in the newsletter, Bob, that we'll have an auction, and if people want to bring something, fine. If not, we just won't have it. We just won't have the auction.
Surely during the year being locked in, they found hundreds and hundreds of items they want to dispose of, so bring them on. Yeah.
That's right. I'll make sure I go to the bank and get some $10 bills.
Thank God for not $5. That's good. All right. Good.
That's right. Yeah.
I got one parting question, Dan.
Okay.
This is Glenn.
Yeah.
Have any of you been in contact with or heard from Donald Jackson?
No.
No.
I've tried to reach him, but haven't been able to get in touch with him.
Well, I'm concerned about that because at the last regional, the Mid-South regional that we had, he had a display cabinet that was damaged. Because he was part of that display. He had some of his equipment there. One of them was an antique display cabinet. It was damaged by one of the workers over there that was helping with the exhibit when we were doing move out from the convention center. And I haven't heard anything from him since. And of course, we haven't met in person since last February. And I'm concerned that he may or may not any longer be affiliated with us. I want to try to contact him. I have a good relationship with Donald. I'll see if I can get in contact with him and find out what the deal is, because when we have this upcoming Mid-South, his trailer was invaluable. You know, Donald was always heavily involved. He was the Mark chair for a number of years before Cherry took it about 3 or 4 years ago. But without his trailer, we're going to need some help. And Sherry is the Mark chair. I'm just in charge of security. But I'm not going to leave Sherry out on the limb, but we're going to have some help getting our stuff out of the storage locker where we moved it to downtown, down to the convention center to set up the Mark floor. So I'll try to get in touch with Donald to find out where he stands right now and what his involvement will be. I'm hoping it'll be the same as before, but I'm dubious about that.
So Glenn, this is Bob. I did talk with Donald a few times.
Donald brought the cabinet by Jay's shop, and we got the glass. He had to get a special glass made. That was done. The display cabinet was repaired, and it did cost him some. I'm not sure what it cost, but it had to have it was curved glass, and they had to have a special glass. But Jay got him in touch with some of it. He did bring it in. I understand he got that repaired, and he was not very upset. But we may want to look at reimbursing that, because I think he had some costs there.
Well, that came out. That came out of the Chapter 42 budget.
Good.
This is Bob. I did talk to Donald a few times, and since that happened to his cabinet, and I was involved with him with the restoration, and it was completely paid for by the funds that came out of the regional.
Very good. Thank you.
Also, I'll add that he seemed quite satisfied with the repair. I was concerned that it wouldn't come out well, but he seemed to be happy with it. I have since that time contacted him twice. And he's not stated any enthusiasm as far as continuing on with us. But he also, I don't think he's mad with us. I'm not sure why he's not continuing to join us. But
I'll try to get with him.
I agree with you. I don't think he's mad either. I repaired a clock for him, and he came by my house to pick up the movement. And he and I chatted just like old friends. He never said anything to me about chapter 24. We didn't really discuss his cabinet or anything, but I didn't get the feeling that he was upset with us in any way either. I think his life is currently just kind of busy like the rest of us. He was talking about maybe retiring from his job. He's like right at that time of his life. So I think maybe he's just been preoccupied. And since we haven't been meeting at all in person, I think that's why we haven't been hearing from him.
Okay, well, I mean, I was just kind of curious, but I'll try to get in touch with him. I'd like to pull the string a little further to find out just exactly where his head is. The last time I had a conversation with him was at the last meeting he attended at chapter 24, and that may have been last February. I don't know. It could have been.
I think that was.
And I asked him, I said, when are you going to retire? Because AT&T, I think that's who he works for, or Southern Bell, has got him all over the country. I mean, he is a head training honcho for AT&T or Southern Bell, whichever telephone company it is. And I think he was growing tired of that. Of course, I don't know how old Donald is, but he's probably around the same age as me, or maybe a little younger. But he indicated that he was getting ready to retire. But until then, he was on again, off again at our meetings, because he was on the West Coast, or he was in northern U.S., or he was somewhere else. He was always there for multiple weeks upon